Guys, we are so close to having 1.5 million subscribers. I never thought it could be done, especially considering the fact that I just talk about history, geography, and world memes. And also hitting the subscribe and like button is a great way to show me you like these longer videos. As you can see, I've been experimenting with making these a lot longer. It's like I'm making a meme movie. So if you can help me get to 1.5 million, that would help a lot. Men literally have 3 moods. Yeah, man. Oh, man. And the United Arab Emirates. What? Yes, I definitely understand this. Yesterday was horrible. I was feeling so United Arab Emirates. Men after their 20th birthday base their entire personality on one of these 3 moods. I'm United Arab Emirates type dude. Am I dumb? I don't get it. Yeah, man. Oh, man. B. Japan. Used to be the center of technological innovation. Was always ahead of the US. Current year, they have no groundbreaking AI software of their own. Nothing worth talking about has come from Japan in ages. China is now the king of tech advancement. What happened? And everyone in the 90s literally theorized that Japan was going to pass up our economy. Look how in the 80s they pass up the Soviet Union, and then they really start exploding in the early 90s. Well, part of their problem is the birth rate and then their long work hours. Oh, there you go. Google population growth and holy work abuse. Careful, usually they bomb Hawaii when in distress. Oh no, not again. Dunkirk in movies and popular culture. Help me, please, I'm weak. I will destroy you. Never, responds Britain. Meanwhile, in reality, it's not my battle. Retreat! Where are the boats? The battle is hard. How do you manage to fight? I fight 1 against 20, responds France. I think obviously both sides deserve a lot of credit for Dunkirk. If it wasn't for both nations' bravery, then the Allies definitely could have just lost all of World War II right here. You're talking hundreds of thousands of men that might have been captured. If the Belgians held up their end, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Pinning your hopes on an imaginary nation. Why don't you moan about the lack of dragons too? Germans saying during this battle, the English will fight until the last French. But yeah, as I said before, this is probably the closest Germany got to actually winning World War II. You are from Europe, says the US, but we do not grant you the rank of white. It's outrageous. It's unfair. Poor Italy and Ireland. Rip. You might think this is just a regular dumb meme, but no, this is actually what the US was doing for a little bit there. Well, actually, even to this day, a lot of people don't consider Italians white. Over 100 years ago, they also weren't very nice to the Irish as well. Don't forget the Poles and other Slavs too. Oh, that's right. It's a Catholic thing, I guess. Actually, now that I think about it, maybe it is. The Irish not being considered white is so strange considering they would be one of the whitest people in modern standards. That is literally saying I'm not white. I'm partially Irish, the most insane thing, but I will definitely tell all my friends about this one day. What paths do I get? Is your cuisine edible? I think the no path sounds a little bit more fun. Let's do that one first. Do you have a speech impediment? Yes. Then you might be Danish. Oh, wow. But if your cuisine is not edible and you do not have a speech impediment, then are you the most narcissistic per capita? Yes, this is going to be... Oh, that's the Netherlands? I was thinking it was going to be France. Oh, France probably has edible cuisine. But if your cuisine is not edible, you do not have a speech impediment, you are not narcissistic, then are your sister and your cousin the same person? If yes, you're Icelandic. If no, do you enjoy ruining foreign dishes such as pizza, adding unnecessary... Oh, this is going to be Canada. Oh, Sweden. That's Sweden. Okay, that was Canada. Finally, if you just ruin your own dishes, then you're Norwegian. I'm definitely noticing a theme here. A lot of Nordic countries, or specifically Northern Europe. How about down the yes, my cuisine is edible path? Do you really know how to speak your own language? If no, you're Swiss. If yes, are you then you're Germany if yes. Do you like acting like a booty hole? Yes, that's Austria. Also yes, but in red, that is Oh, yes, South Tyrol in the northern part, very northern part of Italy. Well, thank you for this breakdown. That was extremely necessary. No, you can't just disconnect from our electricity systems. LOL responds Lithuania. Bzz, bzz, responds Latvia. Cope responds Estonia. Oh, sorry, Estonia actually said just did. Latvia said cope. The Baltic brothers do not want to be part of the Russian Empire again, which if you knew the slightest bit about their history, you would understand why. These places did not have a good time. The Baltic states did just recently unplug themselves from Russia's electricity grid. They've now merged with Finland, Sweden, Poland. The NATO-Russia conflict in terms of the lore versus the NATO-Russia conflict in terms of the actual gameplay. The length of a submarine cable, which was apparently damaged, is 1,115 kilometers. Yes, NATO versus Russia really just comes down to this single image. I don't know who could have predicted this, but to be honest, I'd much prefer this. I don't want to see Article 5 triggered and have to see this. I mean, it's not that I'm complaining. The movie is never as good as the book. We did the funny guns, explosions? No, cuts your cable cutely. This is what isolationism does to an MFer. WW1 helmet, WW1 US tank, WW1 US fighter plane. What the hell was even wrong with us? We literally had no drip. Americans love to be isolationist, but we look stupid. I don't know about you, but if I'm forced to fight in World War III, I want to look better than the US soldiers in World War I. I want to look better than the enemy. Just look at the Germans at the time and all that riz. Sure, you can express your opinions, says Stalin. You can express your opinions in Siberia while you're in a labor camp and you're about to lose your limbs. Man, he was just such a fair guy. They don't teach you this part in school. Sure, you can express your opinion in the grave. there is freedom of speech, but I cannot guarantee freedom after speech. We have a similar joke in Iran under Islamic Republic. You do have freedom of speech in Iran, but not freedom after speech. Soviet soldiers meeting this Finnish man at the World War II parade. Well, if it's not the invisible... I can't say the next word, but you can use your imagination. This is the famous Finnish sniper who probably had the best KD ratio ever in history, and he got most of those against the Soviets. Remember, starting off in World War II, it was the Finns versus the Soviets, and then by the end of World War II, they were kind of on the same side. Although they never officially joined the Allies, they did eventually declare war on the Germans. What's even crazier is that Finnish sniper ended up living longer than the entire Soviet Union. I actually had no idea this man made it to see 2002. First images of Mars gets released. Meanwhile, 2 seconds later, Portugal on their way. They gotta make sure that they're the only person in the solar system that can win at football, because apparently the Martians might be playing it. That looks awfully like a soccer ball to me. Meanwhile, on the moon, Titan, we have oil. America, 2 seconds later. If you really want to start the space race, you gotta make sure you're motivating countries correctly. Portugal, I'm more surprised Switzerland doesn't immediately start when there's some gold to find. Can't wait for the Dutch to steal this trade from the Portuguese. Therapist, rejected EU flag from 2002 isn't real. It can't hurt you. Meanwhile, the rejected 2002 EU flag. I'm gonna say some controversial stuff right now, but the more I see this flag, the more I'm like, you know, maybe it wouldn't have been that bad. The famous barcode flag. It would have been the first one of its kind. And what's cool is you can see every single European country's flag represented in it. I don't know, is it just me? I mean, when I first saw this like 5 or 6 years ago, I was horrified. Now I'm like, I mean, I've seen worse. I live in the United States. I've definitely seen worse. Barcode in color. Designer really went, just take all the flags and freaking mash it all together in there. This just hurts to look at. Oh, come on. It's not that bad, is it? I mean, it kind of hurts. It does. Imagine kids in school are supposed to draw this. I scanned it. It's a can of tomato beans for 2.55 Deutschmarks. Is Michigan the Sweden of the USA? I never really thought about that. Let's see. Both places are cold. Both places are Arab. Both places have socialist governments, and both places are despised by neighbors. Would that make the state of Ohio the Denmark? Because Michigan and Ohio despise each other, so does Sweden and Denmark. There's also a lot of people with Scandinavian ancestry in this part of the U.S. I don't know if they're specifically in Michigan. A lot are in Wisconsin or Minnesota. The Kalmar Union 2.0 with Wisconsin, Minnesota, and Michigan. I mean, if they're not going to make this empire into a reality, I guess we can do it here in the U.S. instead. Also, both are peninsulas. This is a great point. So this is a video about Legos Roblox. I think this is actually summarizing, this is actually, you know what? What the hell? What was just posted? I don't know. It was posted on my subreddit, by the way. I don't know what to think now. The real life country Dune. Oh, I think I know where this is going. This is their spices, their sandworms, Space Guild, also space mining. Here's the Baron. Here's the Imperium, Nvidia, and the Ornith shoppers. I mean, Taiwan is probably the closest we're gonna get to having Dune in real life. Makes me want to visit these islands even more. Scary accurate. Me in Japan after I take 1 orange from a local tree. I think I have 5 stars now. That's also how they treat you in Singapore after buying some gum. Gum is apparently illegal in Singapore. It's an interesting conversation because I've seen multiple Americans throughout my life when they see fruit like growing on a tree or something like that, like they just take it as if it's free, as if like they're supposed to do that. I don't know what's right, but maybe there is an argument you shouldn't take other people's fruits even if it is on a tree. I've done it though. Diarrhea used to literally oof people, and now I'll eat foods that I know will give me diarrhea because they taste good. It's the pinnacle of excess. Bro, same. I don't care if I'm gonna explode my toilet. I'm about to make my burrito so spicy. That's how it tastes good. The Egyptian leader Cleopatra lived in a time closer to us than the construction of the pyramids. Mammoths were still alive when the pyramids were being built. Yeah, the pyramids are like over 5,000 years old, right? This is the fact that people love to discuss. This is probably the single most popular historical fact that we talk about in the US. There's so many others, but this is what the ones that Americans like to discuss. These giant triangles in the desert were built almost 5,000 years ago. Cleopatra was born not even 3,000 years ago. The Crusades in real history versus the Crusades in memes. You would think they were like super Giga Chad, but man, they were a mess. And there were so many of them. It's very complicated. Media in general just loves to talk about the Crusades. Roman history be like, after the defeat of the Battle of the Small Bridge, Rome lost 40,000 of its forces. However, within 3 weeks, Commander Claudius Albertus Chatus Maximus Prime gathered a legion of approximately 60,000 men and successfully planned and executed a counterattack. Once again, Rome had prevailed. Oh! Meanwhile, in medieval history, after gathering forces for 11 months, Sir James the Turk III, king of the richest and most powerful estate in Europe at the time, marched with the largest army ever recorded during this 200-year period of dynasty. He commanded an incredible force of around 3,500 men, along with 150 Spaniards, 47 Genoese, Sicilians, some Muslims, and what became known as the Great Battle of Crimson Tempest, then proceeds to go on to lose. The kingdom then declares bankruptcy and never fully recovers for the next 400 years, later getting conquered by this great French duke with an army of 500. Well, maybe people talk about this. Part of it is, well, the sources, you know. A lot of sources just came to people in their dreams. Maybe they didn't actually have this many men battling in ancient times. It's tough. There's a very good point. There's a really big difference between, you know, gathering up all the men from your empire versus a small kingdom in Europe. Chatus Maximum Prime is about to be my son's name. Meanwhile, Rome be like... Well, Ireland watching the whole thing. I wonder if they felt a little left out. This is really how the Roman Empire expanded. I'm thinking the Irish didn't want to deal with any of that. Or perhaps it was the Romans that didn't want to deal with any more of that. Britannia was enough for them. They didn't want another island. Just considering their thoughts on the Bretons and everything like that. They didn't really like them, if you weren't aware. Stupid, goofy Balkaner. You're not dragging Hungary into a war with the Ottomans. Get out of here. But we need to work and fight together. Otherwise, the Ottomans will invade and conquer us all. No, there goes my 500-year empire. Done in one battle? Man, these Hungarians are weak. Oh, that's with the power of Serbia, Bulgaria, Albania, Greece, and Romania. Okay, so this meme is saying, I guess the Hungarians should have really listened to the Balkaners at this time. All right, well, just like the Balkans, these grudges are held on for centuries, I guess. Honestly, there are grudges in the Balkans that have lasted for thousands of years. Nothing surprises me anymore. The Balkan food cycle be like, something originates sometime during the Ottoman Empire. Then there's Greece that says, no, it's Greek. Then there's Bulgaria that says, no, it's Bulgarian. Then there's Romanians saying, no, it's Romanian. Then there's Bosnians saying, no, it's Bosnian. Of course, there's Serbia, finally Croatia, and actually the cycle continues. It's an endless cycle. Who's next? Montenegro? I think they're too busy asleep. Maybe Albania, and then eventually it gets back to the Ottoman/Turkey, and that's when the cycle continues. It's funny because every region on Earth has this same problem. It doesn't matter if you're from Asia or Africa or Latin America, there's always people arguing with their neighbors who originally came up with food. However, the Balkans do it in a particularly funny way, I have to admit. Meanwhile, Europeans right now facing off against, well, Russia, the USA, and China. It was apparently just China and Russia before, but yeah. They're in such an interesting geopolitical situation right now. Obviously, there's a lot going on over there. Maybe they can play all sides so they come out on top. Bold of you to assume we have a weapon. That's a flashlight. And it's made in China. Germany, it's time to pick up the mantle once more. This time on the right side of history. I don't know. Maybe we shouldn't, but in desperate times, it's called for desperate measures. Or you could always go with this strategy, pulling in a non-European nation, in fact, a very big nation in North America. And yeah, they might not on the surface seem like the greatest warriors, but I'd like to remind you they are the reason why a lot of Geneva Convention war crimes were outlawed. They did some crazy stuff in World War I. I'm actually seeing a lot of people float around this idea, not just the EU and Canada, but Basically, Britain kind of has this plan right now where they gather up some of the old British Empire places, like obviously the UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, but then they could reform a team with the EU. That would be pretty powerful. I don't know how Australia still really likes the US, I think. I don't think we've pissed them off too much yet, but, you know, give us enough time. Who knows? Okay, that is not a comment I expected to see here. Just rolls right off the tongue. Kanzuki. You, an Anglo-Saxon watching William the Conqueror burn your village because a Norwegian noble killed a Frenchman for a noble you've never met. Classic. It's funny, like, this is still kind of how conflicts go. Even to this day, we're obviously referring back to, like, almost 1,000 years ago, but there's all those memes in, like, World War I, like, you have to be sent to the German front lines just because a Serbian oofed an Austrian archduke? What the hell's up with that? Most people serving during World War II. I just had my best friends get oofed in front of my eyes. War is devastating. Tell us about it. Meanwhile, Stan Lee, talk about disassociation. Is actually how disassociation can be a good thing. Well, technically, that's what it's all about. Your body and your mind tries to save you from having like PTSD. Stan Lee was just thinking about all the funny little pictures he was going to draw when he gets back home. Honestly, he seemed like a pretty happy dude. Apparently, it worked. Don't forget Tolkien, the guy that wrote Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, also had a very similar origin story, although he definitely seemed to have had a bit more darker themes. You definitely get to tell his experience with warfare left a bigger impact. When you build a warship so modern and powerful, it immediately makes all your other warships obsolete. The problem of being faster than light is that you can only live in darkness. We're talking about the Royal Navy at the turn of the 20th century. The HMS Dreadnought completely changed naval warfare at that time, but at the very same time, it also triggered the most expensive arm race in history. Funny how, like, nowadays, we're just doing arms races with artificial intelligence. We've come a long way. The Dreadnought arm race, much better than the nuclear arm race. Everyone saw this and said, I gotta get one of those. able-bodied young men in 1914 to 1918 exists. Meanwhile, all the European governments, and this wouldn't be the first time, they were also going to say this, especially certain countries, again, a couple decades later. Soviet Union, Germany, it all depended if they didn't have enough able-bodied young men. Thinking about it, conscripting basically every man that can walk and hold their weapon during wartime is always a norm for most of human history. It's actually incredible that we kind of just only recently stopped that. Enters convention as potential vice president candidate, becomes presidential candidate instead, wins election, doubles the size of the country, refuses to run for re-election, dies. Just normal President Polk things, I guess. Explanation, he had none. And remember, he almost took even more land than we were expecting. He almost grabbed all of northern Mexico, the Yucatan Peninsula, Cuba even, because Polk was president during the Mexican-American War from 1845 to 1849. I watched a lot of very interesting videos about that peace treaty. Fun fact, James Polk is still to this day the only president to do everything in office that he said he would during the campaign trail. Granted, he only promised 4 things, but still. I knew it! You two are sodomites! Actually, this soldier is my wife in disguise. So technically, we've committed no crime. I guess. Okay, what happened here? Is this the American story of Mulan? Yeah, basically, this is basically American Mulan. She was the first ever documented female soldier from Virginia to fight in the Continental Army. Talk about unbelievably based. Meanwhile, King Midas, if he used Instagram, I would love to King Midas is gonna struggle here, I guess, using Instagram. Yeah, it's actually not worth it at all. Love the story of King Midas. I don't know why I haven't been able to get that, myth out of my head. Turns everything into gold. Everything he touches. That's what I'm saying. Absolute cinema. Meanwhile, also King Midas, if he had WhatsApp, he can't have anything good in this world. Warhammer, Troy, Rome 2, Attila armies 5 minutes into battle. They shot 2 arrows, volleys at us. My formation is breaking. 12 of our soldiers died. Everyone flee. Meanwhile, Rome 1, Medieval 2, and Shogun 2 armies 1 hour into battle. 3,000 of my countrymen are dead. I refuse to surrender. Every last one of us will die fighting in the town square. They don't make creative assembly games like they used to, that's for sure. I mean, still, Rome 2 is everyone's like favorite though, right? Well, which side's more realistic? I guess it would depend. Yeah, I didn't think historically speaking, entire units would just fight to the death. Like, we tried not to. There's also more benefit for generals to pull back their men, not to have everyone get killed. Meanwhile, Finnish games, Max Payne, City Skylines, My Car Summer, Alan Wake. Man, they got some bangers in Finland. Meanwhile, Swedish games, obviously Minecraft, Helldivers 2, I didn't know that was Swedish. Of course, Hearts of Iron, everything Paradox. Crusader Kings, Payday 2, they even got Battlefield and Amnesia. Meanwhile, Danish games, it's just Deep Rock Galactic. Okay, that is one of my personal favorites, but obviously there's a lot less here going on. Finally, Norwegian games. It is just Dustborn. That's it? That's all you got, Norway? Okay, clearly the Nordic countries are not all built the same, at least when it comes to game development, and if only they included Poland. Meanwhile, in Iceland, yeah, that's pretty much all they got. Finland and Sweden keep on carrying the Nordics. How other countries see each other, we have the Norwegian, the Dane, the Swede, and then the small, stinky Finn. Versus how it actually is, the Norwegian, the Dane, the Swede, and then the only buff Giga Chad, the Finn. This is a Facebook meme, honestly. It's got to be a Facebook meme. Definitely Nordic Facebook hits different, though. I will say that. Man, they got us. I am the Giga Chad. You are the cringe soy jack. We're the 3rd biggest economy in Europe, screams Italy. You are a 3rd world country. Well, if you look at, like, the way Italy's developed, maybe I don't want to complete that statement, but maybe there's parts of places that are. To be fair, there's, I shouldn't even get in this argument, but there are some places in the US that look pretty rough too. Again, every time I see 3rd, 2nd world, 1st world, all that stuff, I understand why people are like still confused by it being an economic term when it's not. It dates back to the Cold War, literally just your alignments. Italy was definitely on the 1st world side. Get behind me, Luigi's. I won't let them harm you, says this South Macedonian. German humor. At least there's some things you can be sure will never change. Powerful empire in the ancient times, extremely fragmented from Middle Ages, colonized by Europeans, messed up economy thanks to colonization, years of extremist political violence, government can't keep their poop together. Fair enough. And they still have the 3rd biggest economy in Europe. That's impressive. And I'm always pretty surprised by that because I would think Spain would pass them up. Maybe they have too many siestas though. I must threaten economic interests to stop the drugs and illegal immigration from entering the US. I must protect Mexico's integrity and retaliate against economic aggression, says the Mexican leader. Mexico bad. Trump good. Ecuador announces 27% tariffs on Mexican goods. Echoing Trump, Ecuador announces 20. Oh, so is this why they did it? I was talking last week. Why did Ecuador impose Mexican tariffs randomly? Maybe it's just to get good in Trump's eyes? I don't know, man. History of a small town in the nation of Peru. Wow, that's a lot of books. Versus history of all of the nation of Chile. Chile is a country without history? Question mark. That's a great question. Like, what Latin American country has the most history? It'd probably be Mexico, but what South American country has the most history? Brazil's got, I mean, Chile definitely has a lot. Peru probably has more. I'm gonna be honest, yeah. Because the Incan and stuff up there, I don't know for sure. This is actually what the history books in Chile be looking like, though. It's obviously gonna be a lot longer. Please repeal the tariffs! Shut your goofy maple act can't tell me what to do. Remove the tariffs, gringo. Si, señora presidenta. Viva Mexico y Morena. It was that easy. No, I think he delayed the tariffs on both sides for now, but I think he did Mexico first and then eventually Canada. Oh, that's right. It's Gringex or whatever. Mate, that didn't even happen. When you're a goose and see strange men nearby, so you honk and accidentally learn all of Rome about a group of Gaulish warriors launching a sneak attack and then they try to treat you as a hero for the rest of your life? Oh, is this why France still to this day has the national... Oh, no, their national animal is a rooster, not a goose. But I did hear this story before. Obviously, we're talking about the Roman Empire, not modern-day France. Yes, the sacred geese of Juno. Having known a few of these geese, they don't need an ego boost. Yeah, these things are freaking terrifying. It was too bad we were never able to harness them on the battlefield. Zoomers finding out the word draft isn't just a sports term. We better get ready to be sent to the front lines of Greenland, Israel, Panama, and Canada. I don't know why I said we. I'm too old for it, but if you guys go down, I'm the next one in line. In 1939, the USSR was literally drafting any man above the age of 17. Honestly, fighting in all these places legitimately seems horrific. That's bussin', no cap, for real, now go take that hill on God. Let me just hit the vape first. Me reading about Spartacus's defeat at the hand of Crassus. Also me reading about the Parthians pouring molten gold down Crassus's throat after this battle. Oh lol, love the ancient times. Every moment I feel like this, there's also another moment where I feel like this. Is Albania and Armenia the same country? Both claim to have lived in the area way before their neighbors. Both have separatist area population by their people in another country. Both have faiths none of their neighbors follow. Both have a huge diaspora in the West and are highly influential. And the last one I can't put, but and they both start with A and end in A. Wow! I was just going over all the countries that start with A and also end in A. There's so many. There's also a lot of countries that end in A. Don't ask me why, just alphabetical country game I was thinking about playing. Maybe these two should form a union, the Albanian Armenian union. That actually just sounds good. Also, they have a lot of history with Turkey. The enemy of my enemy is a friend. Like I said at the very beginning, if you haven't already, please subscribe. Also, if you want some plushies, these are still for sale for a little bit longer. Not too much longer. They will be gone forever. As always, big ol' thanks to the patrons. Drew's Argentinian Trust Fund. Rip, Grandpa. I will force Drew to eat Spanish food unless he remembers Imperial and modern Japan have the same flag. Alexander the Terrible. Connor Pavlik. DOOCHBAGGINS. Fredrik Tibblin. KingBearHaze. LuxembourgLover. NordTyrol. Miglu the Goat. Tambre. Check that link down below if you want your name here.